This week on the 77% Street Debate.
We cannot wait for that change to happen. What if the change will happen in 100 years to come?
We have a problem with work ethics.
What is supplied by the schools is not what is demanded by the employers.
What we taught in schools, what we see in schools is exactly different from what we find in our society. So when you go out of there, you find denial.
In the year 2016, the then Deputy Director for Employment, Joseph Nganga, made an admission that left many people shocked. He said that 80% of the Tanzanian workforce is unemployed. And we're curious, is it because of the quality of education or just the way the marketplace is set up? Well, we're here at the University of Dar es Salaam to try and get to the bottom of that. I'd like to hear from some of the university students who are at the back. Do you think that what you're being taught in your classrooms is preparing you for the fourth industrial revolution that we've heard, a future of digitization? Can I please hear from some people here?
Most of education students, we are taught only to finish our colleges and to find our white-collar jobs, and not to stand for ourselves.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but you're saying that people are getting degrees and master programs just as a check to check, because I know I'm going to get a job after this. So where's the passion? Where does the passion come in? Judith?
There is no passion from the system of education. What we taught in schools, what we see in schools is exactly different from what we find in our society. So when you go out of there, you find denial.
Hemedi, let's come back to you. And I also want to pose the question of how this education system in Tanzania compares to global ones. I know, for example, that you went to university right here and then proceeded after 6 months to New York. So how does that work?
When you are there, the first thing you are taught is how to teach yourself. Because I remember I had first assignment and I had to present in front of the class, and due to one topic that we didn't learn, I told my instructor that, oh, we haven't learned this. And then like, Ahmed, in schools, you're only taught about 20%. The rest you need to teach yourself, because in reality, you're not going to have your professor with you. I'm like, oh. So that was actually like something that hit my head and opened up my eyes. And since then, I have been learning everything by myself.
Okay, I'd like to hear from this gentleman at the back who wants to contribute.
Yeah. Let me go deeper into the root cause of the problem. What is supplied by the schools is not what is demanded by the employers. And you know what is the real cause of it? The real cause is curriculum. We have had 5 curriculum reforms in Tanzania, and all these reforms have been focusing on superficial things. But the real issue of content and cognitive demand in the curriculum has never been addressed in all 5 reforms. What does it mean? It means the written document, the written curriculum, has a huge misalignment or mismatch with actually what is outside the classroom. What the employers need a person, the qualification of the person, is not taught in the classroom.
Thank you so much. We'll come to the solutions in just a short while. Noel, I know you've been trying to talk to me for a while. Is this the experience that you're having?
The problem is leadership we have. They don't know where the world is. They're just using the barbaric curriculum to teach our youth, of which they are playing with their mind. They are playing with their future, their financial futures. You can imagine our education system is producing the shameful students, the shameful graduates of which they don't know how even to express themselves, how to face the real challenge of this world.
Regardless of language.
Yeah, regardless of language, okay. Yes. So the first thing we are supposed to do is the leaders to know where are we supposed to be, to know the national targets, and to set the education curriculum, educational system to be related with our national targets and national goals.
All right. There's one more person here on this end.
Okay, thank you. The system of education, it is, but we have to know that the population always keep on growing, but the system of education is still as it is. So we have a number of students but we have a lot of students, but resources are the same. So how do you dispute these resources to the person? That comes the issue of unemployment.
So we've just heard something that has been added into the discussion. First of all, we heard that the curriculum is mismatched to the skills that are required in the market. Language of instruction is obviously a problem. You also talked about the curriculum being outdated, but now we're hearing that the classrooms are going to get inevitably bigger as the population grows. How does that affect quality of delivery?
We have few lecturers and so many students. I remember some of the lecturers had to mark more than 2,000 papers. And some of them, they really have to work day and night to ensure the students are learning, because there is a difference between attending classes and really learning. The only challenge we are facing right now is when these students are graduating and you see them on the street, they are looking for a job 2-3 years after their graduation.
All right, I want to speak to somebody who is currently looking for a job and has a degree. Here you are. So, all of these things, are they sounding relevant to you? Do you think that your skills are mismatched for the work environment, your curriculum was bogus? Is this true?
Well, it's not exactly true, because the very big thing, like the very big problem like I see now, is the system. You find maybe I took a degree a bachelor degree in political science and public administration, but I go back to the market, the employment system, there are no jobs for political science and public administration. So I'll just take other jobs that will fix me or will help me to survive. Or if in case I don't be able to get it, I'll go maybe for that into entrepreneurship. Another problem that I've seen it, I cannot be an entrepreneurship if I've not gotten an entrepreneur skills or like learnings or studies. The government takes a lot of students to come to the universities, and there are a lot of universities. Like the time I finished my university, I graduated last year, we graduated like 5,000. But you find in my class like 10 or 20 are the ones who are employed. Others were at home. We're just, whenever you get something like a volunteering thing, you go for it. You get, maybe there is a conference, you go for it. You want to survive.
Okay, so if I'm listening to this conversation as an outsider, I would come to Tanzania and say, well, there's no point of having a degree. So I want to know from you, Lillian, how easy it is or how difficult it is to get a job without actual papers.
It's not easy. The fact of the matter is we still have employers that will be looking for somebody who has finished either a certificate or you have some type of certificate, diploma, or a degree at the end of the day. But what's much more important is the fact of what are you doing with that knowledge base that you have? How are you churning that to actually be employable? There is a mismatch with regard to the labor market information. So how quick we know what is needed in the labor market, so that the training institutions actually design degree courses, or if it's short certificates, that you actually deliver students that can work within that space. So there is different layers to this whole issue.
But, you know, if I wanted to be a civil engineer in this country, do I have the resources? Okay, let's hear from some people we haven't heard from.
When it comes to practical training, engineers and doctors are lucky because they get to go to the field and do something and see actually what they're studying. And that is also in their classrooms. That is, in an engineering class, a teacher doesn't come with notes and then teaches the students. But what happens mostly is you don't actually go to practice what you have studied in school. So you might do, let's say, public relations and advertising. You go there and then you're put as a customer care. So when you waste 2 months without actually gaining something that you went there for, and that is recurrent. So you do it for the first year and you do it for the second year, and then when you finish, you actually come to realize that what you have gained and what you did in your practical training is actually not what the employer wants.
Okay. From this end, let me speak to some people I haven't spoken to. I'll come back to you, Namala.
Okay. Well, thank you. Actually, I'm an electrical engineering student at this university, so I want to take this whole thing into a perspective of technology. The country right now is under stress of technology because we're in the second industrial revolution, which is more, okay, for this country, we are more of the second because we are in the electricity reformation and mechanical reformation, but the whole world is in the fourth, which is basically about the Internet of Things, about the artificial intelligence, about robotics, you see. Now, we are lacking that consistency with the external world because of our system right now. Okay,
So can you give me some practical examples that you've experienced in your learning which you feel already give you a step back or make you disadvantaged?
Okay, I experienced this once in class. You know, we had to learn to learn about electronics. Okay, and the electronics that we were taught is something that you don't see practically. You see, you are taught in class and it's very theoretical, but when you go to the external field, you don't see nothing like that. You know, you just experience something which is so different. You see, so that is a shock. I mean, that was a shock for me because I learned something like electronics in class, but I went to the field and it was nothing like that. You know, that was a challenge, and we really need something like a practical methodology for this country, for the higher learning institutions to just cope with the external world and the external pressure of the fourth industrial revolution.
All right, and what does this pressure do? Because now we're talking about people who've worked so hard to get degrees and then they realize maybe they're not so relevant. What does that mean for the future, Leandra?
Wow. I think right now we are talking of we won't be able to utilize our natural resources. For sure, like you take the skills that we have right now and you see us in the near future, we cannot do that. We cannot do that unless something changes. If the policies are not changed, it means like something has to be changed. Policies are not changed, we're going to be on the same level. We're on the second industrial revolution, which is very sad. And the world is moving fast and we need to catch up. Guys are coming this side and we need their skills, you know. We need their skills. So we'll keep on bringing more people to actually utilize their skills in Tanzania because we don't have resourceful people to be used as employees in the industry.
Right.
And I think maybe somebody else.
Yeah.
Yes. For me, I think you have asked about the question of the future of our nations. For me, the future is very worse because we are not yet knowing how to stop this gamble. I say our education system is like playing the gamble, the game of win and loser. I think we have to restructure our educational system so that to provide programs which will help our kids to explore the real worlds and experience so that they can help themselves, they can help the society, they can help also the nation. Keeping on perpetuating the system, I think we are having nowhere we are going.
Wow, that is very, very bleak. Are you going to tell me something sad as well?
What's the saddest thing is that we have this fear of unknown. You're studying, and yet you know that when I go out there, I'll face the rejection.
Wow, so you are now in university not knowing if this education is going to be...
If it will help me, I don't know. And when I look at the outside and when I look at the relevance of the people who graduated before me, when I look at them, I just have this fear of unknown. What am I to do? What am I going to do there, out there? The education system was supposed to help me, right? It was supposed to give me diversity of direction. I will go multi-up option, right? I will start with this one. If this fail, I'll go with this one. If this fail, I'll go with this one. But it has gave me only one choice, and that choice, deep inside in my mind, I know that this choice is not going to work. It has killed my curiosity. It has killed my creativity. It has not innovated anything inside me. It has killed everything.
Okay, so how do you stay motivated in the classroom if you are not sure that this will amount to something?
So what should be done is that we cannot hide in this umbrella of curriculum. We cannot hide in this umbrella that the system does not work, the education quality is still low. So as a youth or as a young person, what are you to do for yourself? What about that creativity you have inside you? Because of course the knowledge you get it cannot be stolen. Yeah. You still have it, right? If that creativity that you was born with cannot be stolen, you still have it. So you have to search right inside you. What do I have inside? What that creativity? What can I do for myself if the system does not help me? Yeah. If the environment stopped me? If the situation stopped me? What do I have to do to survive? Because we have to survive.
All right, let's hear from Leandra, and then I'd like to hear from you, please.
Yeah, apart from that, I think we need to go back. This country, I mean, I'm a person, I employ other people as well, apart from having another job. The work ethics, I see people who come, the work ethics, we have a problem with work ethics. I mean, even like two days ago, a friend of mine was in hospital and a doctor was attending her and she was listening to music. You know, listening to music while you're supposed to we have a very poor work ethics in Tanzania.
Do you think that comes from education, being forced to do something you're not really interested in?
It comes as the foundation from family. It starts from family. Just know that at the place where a kid is going to a job, they have been molded by a family. They have been molded by primary school, secondary school, and the society as well. So we have this whole package, which it's difficult to mold at this time. Yeah. So the work ethics, bad attitude, really, really bad, and people are complaining a lot. But then people need to be self-motivated. When you go back to history. Back then, when our mothers and fathers were studying, they had a thing called education for self-reliance, if I'm not mistaken. And in their schools, you'd find only one kid has passed and all other kids did not pass. But how did they survive? Look at us. We have all studied. My mom got a diploma. My dad had a PhD. But I can see how much she struggled to get me to school. She's the one who paid my school fees first, by the way. So you get back to that. You're like, how did they survive? Yeah. Something is wrong somewhere. Yeah. We need to introduce. Yeah, we need
yes,
to
I think these are the skills that Hemedi was talking about earlier. I'd like to hear from her, please, because she hasn't spoken.
Okay, thank you. First, I want to know something. All of what we've been discussing here implies that we need to change. There must be a change in our education systems, education syllabuses. But we cannot wait for that change to happen. What if the change will happen in 100 years to come? Will you just stay idle and die with no work, no good education, or no what? So I think it's high time for students in our universities, in our colleges, in our secondary school to equip themselves with employability skills. They need to know what the employer needs and how are they going to get it through different workshops, trainings, and seminars.
I have to say, this entire conversation is making me a bit sad because we're hearing over and over again people saying, don't depend on the degree. Forget about having a job. Create the space for yourself. Speak to us.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll hold it for you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I was listening a lot of complaints about the education system and other related issues, but the way I see, because I'm coming from the higher learning institutions, the problem is not to the curriculum, the problem is not to the education system, the problem is not actually to the government system, whatever. The problem is the mindset. When we talk about education, we have two types of education, we have formal education and informal education. So actually what we're discussing here most, we're discussing about the formal education, which actually is just taking up after someone having the informal education. That's what I'm saying about the issue of mindset. You hear someone...
But I mean, it's very difficult to be in a positive mindset and say, I'm going to make it no matter what, if you don't have the foundation for it. It's very difficult to convince a future employer that I'm going to be able to do a good job if you can't express yourself.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying about the informal education. We are talking about the foundation. The foundation normally starts from the informal education and not from the formal education. So if we have a clear mindset, the attitude from our family that education is not the only way to someone actually to have a living. When we talk about employment, we are talking about the living, how someone can live, isn't it? And you will find a lot of graduates that are thinking about being employed, talk about the white-collar jobs. We have forgotten a very big portion of the employment, which is informal sector, okay? This informal sector, you can see from the private sector and from the agriculture sector, which actually it is still verging to almost 80%. Okay? So another thing someone said about the issue of curriculum, the system of validating the curriculum is happening in each after 5 years. So in that validation of the curriculum, depending the change of science and technology. You'll find the employers today, they need someone maybe with certain skills, okay? Maybe this is a result of innovation. It's a result from the version which came in 2 years before coming to the 5 years, which actually is the right time for changing the curriculum. Okay. You can see, and someone is blaming about the curriculum. Someone is blaming about education. Language. Language does not work. Language does not work. You may be speaking the Chinese, vernacular language, Swahili, but if you have talent and you can work, you'll work.
Okay. Let me hear from some other people I haven't heard from. Please come here.
Speaking of mindset, so most of the time, because you don't have a job, so what do you do next? You go to maybe training, skills that you have to, to undertake. Then most of the time you find someone is saying maybe I can't write a CV, I can do a cover letter. Then okay, there's this training, come. They don't show up. You see, now what do you do there? And you're like, oh, maybe I have connection. Okay, but connection takes you to the interview. But how are you going to stand out to win that interview? So it's someone's mindset.
Okay, so you really think that students should take matters into their own hands and
like you can't wait
close the deficit? Okay, let me hear from some more people here.
Okay, thank you. My opinion is that the solution is that we have to be prepared of everything that is coming to us. As we are studying from primary school, secondary school, there must be, when we finish up our secondary school, preparing ourselves for going to university, there must be the preparation. That there must be people who prepare students for their future or for their next.
You mean like career guidance counselors?
Yes, yes. The people must know what they are going to study, what are they studying for, what type of job they need to do next. So in Tanzania, most of people, we are not aware of what we want to do. Maybe I'm finishing my secondary school education, I want to go for university. So what am I going to study at university? Maybe I'm depending on my siblings who are already going to university to advise me on what I'm going to study or what am I going to practice there.
Okay, so picking degree choices which have less to do with the employability but more to do with passion. Yes. All right. Anyone else who wants to speak who I haven't spoken to yet, and then we'll come back, we'll circle back.
I think the problem is, going to the solutions is students or graduates. You better have options. Make your options clear. Have options. Entrepreneurship is not an option for everyone. It's not for everyone. Entrepreneurship is a sector that depends on itself, like as it is in the employment sector. You need skills. You need a set of various skills to do it in the entrepreneurship. In the private sector or in the employment sector, you need skills. As you failed in the employment sector, you will fail also if you do not have skills in the entrepreneurship. But also, another option is we need a cultural reform, cultural transformation. Do we believe in technology? Why are we in the second industrial revolution?
Okay. Noel has been raising his hand for a while, and I'd like to come to the gentleman at the back.
They are talking about the issue of diversities. Yes. Maybe let me ask you, those who are here. There is any school here in Tanzania maybe is emphasizing the kids to excel in physical intelligence. There is any school here in Tanzania, they are emphasizing the student to excel in a social intelligence, emotional intelligence. You can find out that our education system is forcing our kids only to pass a written examination. They're forgetting other intelligence, something which is not right.
So I'd like to hear from you as the people who've been hearing this debate and listening to it with me. What is the way forward for the Tanzanian education system? Leandra.
So with that one.
Actually, if we continue with this system, we will be still producing number of unemployed people. And we have to know that because we are fighting in the forest, we should not choose weapons. We should take all these angle, this discussant have mentioned. Curriculum is has to be changed. And when you're speaking about curriculum, we have to know that does government know that the theory we have been taught in class relate to the practice, and if that's the case, also we have to include a course we call an entrepreneurship as a compulsory course in each year, as we do in other courses. So if a student finished a year of study, has to go and practice and light even a project and show how or where the project has been done, so that when after he or she has graduated, will be assured of soft skills, because we are mostly provided with hard skills, but soft skills is just a case.
Okay, Lillian, I'm interested to hear from you.
I need youth to be take charge of their own. All the things that we're talking about, the mindset, you're running an employability workshop, you have spots for 60, only 30 apply, and then only 20 actually stay through the whole thing. So that's 1/3. So at the end of the day, you have people who have graduated over 2 years, and I sit down with this person, is like, how many applications have you sent out there in 2 years, right? Actually, it was 1 year. It's like 3 applications. I'm like, 3 applications, and you have your parents, walk the ground.
Yes.
And they are, I'm not saying that they're not walking the ground. I'm just saying that we need to adopt a different mindset. Nola has been speaking about really starting to do the volunteering. It's true. Employers will be looking at the end of the day, you have one position and I have more than 200 applications to go through for that one position. What starts to differentiate you? Have you volunteered? Were you at your student government body? Did you so those are the things now we're starting to put, okay, I'll put this person in this bucket and this person has a different mindset, they have teamwork. So those are the things that starts to differentiate you. So at the end of the day, we can talk about all the challenges that are facing us and that are insurmountable, but we have to do something about it.
All right. Well, we've had a very intense conversation here in Dar es Salaam, and the answer has been resounding from all of these young people that the first thing that needs to happen to improve the quality of education is for the students themselves to figure out why they even want this education. My name is Edith Kimani. Thank you for watching.